Welcome to the Fly East Africa Weekly Bulletin, brought to you by Easy Flights and Aviadev Consult. My name is Mugenyi Yvonne Isabella, and first, the headlines. Emirates increases frequencies to Entebbe International Airport. A lot of stories from South African Airways. Boeing to give $100 million to 737 MAX crash victims, families and communities. And here are the stories in detail. Emirates increases frequencies to Entebbe International Airport. With effect from 5th July 2019, Emirates will add 3 weekly flights to Uganda. The flight shall be operated using a Boeing 777-300. The additional flights shall be operated on Friday, Saturday and Sunday, arriving Entebbe International at 5:45 a.m. and returning to Dubai at 7:15 a.m. This addition is to cater for the increased summer demand, and this be operated between July and September. Emirates currently operates daily flights to Entebbe International using a Boeing 777-300. Ethiopian Airlines to open new routes to GAROWE and BOSASO. After nearly 4 decades of political tension that had hindered flights and connectivity between the two sister countries, Ethiopian Airlines is set to open another 2 destinations in Somalia. Effective from the 15th July, the Pan-Africanist airline will operate flights to GAROWE and BOSASO. The airline's group CEO, Mr. Towolde Gebremariam, had this to say: "It gives us great pleasure to launch our flight to GAROWE, Somalia," and he continued, "In addition to our operating flights to Mogadishu, the new service significantly strengthens the long-standing people-to-people, economic and political ties between the two neighboring and sisterly countries. It will also enable the important Somali diaspora in the Americas, Europe, Asia, Middle East, and Africa to travel to their homeland via Addis Ababa, our main hub, as well as get connected to the world thanks to our extended global network of over 120 international destinations." Ethiopian Airlines starts flights to Marseille, France. Since 1971, Ethiopia has been operating flights to the French capital Paris, and on 2nd July 2019, the airline launched flights to another city of Marseille. The new route will be operated using a Boeing 787 on the following days. Flights to Marseille. This will be on Tuesday, Thursday and Friday, departing Addis at 23:45 and arriving Marseille the following day at 5:45. The return flights to Addis. This will be operated on Wednesday, Friday and Saturday, departing Marseille at 23:05 and arriving Addis at 6:35. All times stated here are local times and not the difference in time zones. Regarding the new services, Group CEO of Ethiopian Airlines, Mr. Towolde Gebremariam, remarked, "It gives us great pleasure to launch flights to Marseille, connecting France's second largest city to over 60 African destinations we serve through our hub Addis Ababa. We've been flying to Paris since 1971, more than 48 years, so we are not new to the market in France. But we are very happy to extend our services closer to the customer in Marseille. The connectivity we are establishing between Europe and Africa is facilitating trade investment, tourism and people-to-people ties. Marseille marks Ethiopian Airlines' 20th destination in Europe. It will also bring the number of passenger flights the airline operates to European cities to 60 per week." NEXUS and AKAGERA Aviation team up to start Aviation Academy. A joint venture agreement that will see an upgrade of AKAGERA Aviation Training Academy to a fully fledged aviation training academy will improve training of local pilots, engineers and other professionals. The venture leaves AKAGERA Aviation with a 40% stake and NEXUS takes 60% with the naming rights of the academy, thus NEXUS Training Academy. The Minister of Infrastructure, Mr. Claver, said the following: "We are enthusiastic to attract such investments and we have high expectations from this new NEXUS Training Academy. This investment fully aligns with the National Transport Policy, with a plan to establish an aviation center of excellence for the development of the skills needed to support the growth of the aviation sector in Rwanda." The Managing Director of AKAGERA Aviation, Patrick Kulichimfura, laid out the target of the new academy, thus training over 387 pilots for Rwanda Air in the next 5 years. And he further said, "Our mandate as part of the ATL group of companies is to rapidly reduce the skills gap in the industry and put the country on a highly visible map in aviation development. We truly believe that an informed perspective and synergy among aviation stakeholders are very important in order to succeed in emerging future roles and create economies of scale," he added. Mr. Abdallah Al-Sayed, the founder and chairman of Nexus Flight Services, said the following: "You need a good transportation system, and we heard that in the last few years, the government has worked very hard to grow Rwanda Air and get it where it is today, and now stands as a benchmark for even other airlines in other countries," he further said. "There are engineers, maintenance workers, ground handling officers, fuel coordinators, flight dispatchers. There are so many jobs around aviation. So we need a very professional training academy." He then concluded on why they chose Rwanda by saying, "We chose to invest in Rwanda because Rwanda is strategically located, hence enabling us to tap into the region and entire African market. We are committed to offer quality standard services in order to actively participate in the growth of the aviation in Rwanda and in Africa in general." According to the officials in the academy, it will be functional in the next 6 months, and in the next 5 years, it should have acquired 34 aircrafts, 10 simulators, and will have trained 370 pilots, 376 engineers, 285 aircraft dispatchers, and about 500 ground handling and 500 cabin crew. Kenya Airways selects General Electronic Aviation for digital flight operations. Kenya Airways has selected General Electronic Aviation for the flight operations suite of its digital products across the airline's fleet of Boeing 737, 787 and Embraer E190 aeroplanes. Kenya Airways fleet adds to the 15,468 unique aircraft assets that are connected to General Electronic Aviation's digital solutions. An implementation is currently underway with completion this year. The signing of agreement was done during the just concluded Paris Air Show, and the Chief Digital Officer, Mr. John Mansfield of GE Aviation, remarked, "Kenya Airways was looking for a way to monitor fleet performance, implement and track fuel-saving initiatives across their network, and empower their pilots to help drive efficiency." He continued on saying the flight operations suite has the ability to provide these insights and is scalable to provide additional functionality. The flight operations suite integrates GE's event measurement system, flight analytics, flight pulse, and fuel efficiency services. Kenya Airways' 425 pilots add to the 57,702 airline crew, relying on GE Aviation's network crew optimization. Paul Njoroge, Director of Operations, Kenya Airways, said, "The partnership with General Electronic Aviation will empower Kenya Airways to optimize its fuel costs and excel in flight operations. GE brings a wealth of knowledge to help the airline fast-track efficiencies, enabling improvements in operations and customer experience." Claire Ward, Chief Information Officer, Kenya Airways, explained why the airline chose GE Aviation by saying, by partnering with General Electronic, Kenya Airways is accelerating the move to leading-edge technologies in analytics and machine learning. Our aim is to help Kenya Airways reduce their multi-million-dollar fuel bill and increase its overall efficiency, said Mansfield. And she concluded by saying, the fidelity in our flight analytics, together with the team's experience from analyzing more than 175 million flights, will enable Kenya Airways to better manage operations with data-driven solutions. We are bringing together analytics with physical assets to help significantly reduce costs. NICO BEZUIDENHOUT returns to Mango. Mango's board has appointed NICO BEZUIDENHOUT as permanent CEO with effect from October 1, 2019. BEZUIDENHOUT was the founding CEO of Mango Airlines. According to a statement from the low-cost airline, which is a subsidiary of a national carrier, SAA, the appointment of a permanent CEO is a step towards stabilizing leadership and strengthening executive capacity of the airline. Mango noted that BEZUIDENHOUT has a track record of successfully managing the airline during his tenure between 2006 and 2016. BEZUIDENHOUT had grown Mango's market share by 25%. He also co-authored SAA's long-term turnaround strategy in 2013, according to the statement. BEZUIDENHOUT resigned from Mango to take up a CEO position at FastJet in August 2016. During his term at FastJet, BEZUIDENHOUT gained experience in the markets of Tanzania, Mozambique, and Zimbabwe. BEZUIDENHOUT has 18 years of senior level experience, 13 of which he served as a chief executive officer. He is also a non-executive board member of the state-owned airline in Kazakhstan and an advisory board member for an airline distribution technology company in the United States of America. Mango's statement read, South African Airways board was pleased with the appointment, and its chairperson, J.B. Magwaza, said, "We are pleased to welcome NICO BEZUIDENHOUT back into the SAA group. His appointment will advance the implementation of the turnaround strategy of SAA Group." South African Airways leases A350 for New York flights. South African Airways will supplement its existing long-haul fleet with its new Airbus A350-900 aircraft, which are modern, twin-engine and wide-body aircraft. This new generation aircraft boasts fuel efficiency and other benefits and advantages. The aircraft will operate on one of South African Airways' ultra-long-haul routes between Johannesburg and New York's John F. Kennedy International Airport, replacing the A340-600 aircraft on this route, and will still be operated on a non-stop basis. South African Airways acting CEO Zukisa Ramasea had the following to say: "The introduction of this state-of-the-art aircraft to our fleet is an important step change as we continue to make progress to transform our business and return the airline to financial sustainability in the shortest time possible." And the statement continues, "These aircraft present an immediate opportunity to offer an improved product between Johannesburg and New York, which will be accompanied by unmatched and consistent customer experience for both business and economy class customers." According to a statement released by the airline, the A350 has the latest offering in safety, maintenance and efficiency stroke technology. These aircraft present an opportunity for South African Airways to reduce fuel burn by approximately 20%. compared to the aircraft currently operating on that route. This will translate into significant cost savings that will contribute towards improved operating costs and financial performance. In addition, the significance of this development is that it will add to a positive environmental impact, as SAA will also reduce its carbon emissions. South African Airways will lease the aircraft for up to 3 years and the statement didn't mention the leasing company or airline. The aircraft has a set of 246 economy class seats with the first 6 rows offering extra legroom to provide a more comfortable experience, especially on longer flights. The business class cabin has lie-flat beds. South African Airways will take delivery of the aircraft in the second half of 2019. The aircraft will be operational in South African Airways branding as soon as South African Airways has met the regulatory authority requirements. In conclusion, the acting CEO said, "We are proud to offer our customers the latest generation aircraft with a modern product, including a quieter cabin, a more relaxing environment during flight, and the latest in-flight entertainment." South African Airways signs CODESHARE and frequent flyer agreements with GOL LINHAS. The agreement will enable South African Airways to add its code on flights operated by GOL in the Brazilian territory, which will allow South African Airways customers to integrate their travel with easy connections on flights of both carriers. The CODESHARE was effective from the 4th July, and tickets can already be purchased through all South African Airways sales channels, including the airline's website. The agreement makes it possible for South African Airways to add its code on 20 connecting flights in Brazil operated by GOL, including Rio de Janeiro, Brasilia, Curitiba, Porto Alegre, Belo Horizonte, and Florianopolis, among others. The CODESHARE with the leading carrier in the domestic Brazilian market extends South African Airways' reach throughout Brazil. Besides the CODESHARE, the signed frequent flyer program agreement offers members of each airline's programs, Voyager from South African Airways and Smiles from GOL, the opportunity to accrue and redeem miles. Customers from Smiles can accrue and redeem miles on flights operated by South African Airways to Africa, Asia and Australia, and Voyager members can accrue and redeem Voyager miles on flights operated by GOL. Zux Ramasea, South African Airways Acting Chief Executive Officer, said, "We are extremely pleased with this agreement, which comes at an opportune time and gives strategic impetus to our strategy of growing partnerships globally to offer our customers more travel options. It is an important step in the execution of our strategy and gives our customers, through our direct flights to Sao Paulo, a number of further travel options to explore Brazil. In turn, the mutually beneficial agreement offers GOL customers the chance to explore the riches of Africa." Randall Sayez Aguero, GOL's Director of Alliances, International Expansion and Distribution, had the following to say: "The partnership with South African Airways is in line with our commitment to offer a larger international connectivity with quality of service and integrated products of each carrier. Thus, we enable more destination options and connectivity, bringing more benefits to our clients with more agility and the smart choice of time on their trips." Thanks for watching our African segment, and here is the international news segment brought to you by Avia Dev Consult, powered by Midas Aviation, that provides tailored consultancy to the African aviation market. Here are the stories in detail. KLM starts celebrations to mark 100 years. KLM marked the start of its 100-day countdown to the carrier's centenary on 7th October with a festive event at Amsterdam Airport, Schiphol. KLM invited all industry stakeholders to join hands in the pursuit of a more sustainable future for aviation under the banner "Fly Responsibly." KLM's president and CEO, Peter Elbers, was present to mark the much-anticipated milestone. The SkyTeam member was expecting to have its first B787-100 to coincide with the celebrations, but the delivery was delayed, with KLM stating only that it often happens that the delivery process of an aircraft is slightly delayed due to the complexity and administrative issues. Boeing to give $100 million to 737 MAX crash victims, families and communities. Boeing announced on Wednesday that it would give $100 million to communities and families affected by 2 crashes involving its 737 MAX planes that claimed 346 lives. Describing the sum as an initial investment over multiple years, the company said it would work with local governments and non-profit organizations to provide hardship and living expenses and boost economic development in regions affected by crashes of planes that were operated by Ethiopian Airlines and Lion Air. Boeing faces numerous lawsuits filed by the victims' families, some of whom have appeared at news conferences or during congressional hearings probing the disasters. The $100 million figure is less than the list price for several leading 737 MAX planes. Boeing said it would also match donations from employees to families and communities affected by the accidents. According to a statement from the airline CEO, Dennis Muilenburg, we at Boeing are sorry for the tragic loss of lives in both of these accidents, and these lives lost will continue to weigh heavily on our hearts and on our minds for years to come. The families and loved ones of those on board have our deepest sympathies, and we hope this initial outreach can help bring them comfort. Boeing referenced multiple lawsuits in an April securities filing, saying it was also cooperating with various regulatory probes. He concluded that statement by saying, "We cannot reasonably estimate a range of loss, if any, that may result given the ongoing status of these lawsuits, investigations and inquiries."
Hello from Aviadev. A few weeks ago in Cape Town we delivered our first route development workshop for African airports, civil aviation authorities and tourism authorities. The feedback from the community was fantastic and the workshop was sold out. You can hear directly from the attendees.
Today was really interesting for me, very insightful. It was my first workshop in aviation, having been recently appointed into tourism as a CEO. For us in Limpopo, we are looking for ideas to develop new routes. So I found today extremely helpful.
The presenters were quite knowledgeable on the subject that they were presenting on. I really gained a lot of knowledge about route development.
I really enjoyed the workshop. As an investor in airports, I'm a layer removed from route development, so for me it was very insightful to understand some of the factors that impact or influence route development and what to think about and what to consider when talking to airlines.
At Aviadev, we partnered with Midas Aviation and we created Aviadev Consult, powered by Midas Aviation, the new company that provides tailored consultancy to the African market. And we've decided to bring the workshop to Africa again. We'd like to invite African airports, civil aviation authorities and tourism authorities to the Introduction to Air Service Development Workshop. It will take place in Addis Ababa on the 23rd to 24th September. In Addis, Aviadev team will be joined by Becca Rowland from Midas Aviation and the one and only Atogur Mawake, the godfather of African aviation. For more information and registration, click on aviationdevelop.com/Africa. See you in Addis!
Thanks for watching Fly East Africa Weekly Bulletin, brought to you by Easy Flights, your flight deal center. Just call Matt and you'll have your air ticket. And Aviadev Consult, powered by Midas Aviation, that provides tailored consultancy to the African aviation market. Let's have another look at the headlines. Emirates increases frequencies to Entebbe International Airport. A lot of stories from South African Airways. Boeing to give $100 million to 737 MAX crash victims, families and communities. Connect with us on all platforms, that is Twitter and Facebook, for the latest international and African news segment. My name is Mugenyi Yvonne Isabella. Till next time.